Thank you for boarding Good Pod Guide flight GPG 6084. My name's Lauren Windle and I'll be your captain today. We're embarking on a short journey to help you find your next favourite podcast. Don't forget to strap in. I've just had my lunch, right, and I have definitely overeaten. And I always do this thing of like putting too much on the plate and then I go, yeah, but I'll just eat what I want and leave the rest. When actually something in my head goes, if it's on the plate, we're eating it, regardless of how much I put on the plate. Also, I hate it when someone says, like those big bags of crisps, I can polish those off in 2 sittings easy, sometimes even 1. And when they're like, oh, 8 servings, I'm like, what is a serving to you? Like a child's handful. I find the servings really judgy on food. Anyway, all that to say I feel a bit sick because I've definitely stuffed my face. But that's fine because I'm a professional and I'm just going to power on and no one will even notice, that I don't feel my best. Right, onto the podcast. I was forewarned that I was going to really like this one. And I think that just put the pressure on it. I always make the mistake of getting really hyped about something and then like really gassing it up to someone else. And then someone goes away and tries it and they're like a bit disappointed because I went too far. When actually, if I was a bit more chill, people may still take my recommendations, but like be pleasantly surprised by what they listen to. Most recently happened when I recommended The Sister on ITV Player to my brother-in-law. And I like really went to town on how much I loved it. And he was like, yeah, it was fine to average. And I always take it really personally if people don't like my recommendations. It's like a slight on my character, which probably means I shouldn't be presenting a recommendations podcast because I recognize not everyone's going to agree with me. Anyway, so I was told I love it. It is Bear Brook, and this is an American podcast covering the Bear Brook murders. I actually hadn't heard of this case, but maybe if you're over in the States, you will have. It's basically 2 barrels containing human remains were dumped in Bear Brook National Park in the 80s. The police had no eyewitnesses to question, and they couldn't even identify the bodies, so the case just went cold. But in 2015, reporter Jason Moon started covering the case when it was announced that the police were going to be using forensic techniques to try and identify the body. So those techniques weren't actually available in the 80s when the bodies were initially discovered. So the police said they were going to, reopen the case and see if they could work it out. With no witnesses to question or any other leads, this case is completely driven by, science, forensics, isotopes, digital facial reconstruction, genealogy, genetic techniques. And what's great about that is, unlike a lot of other true crime series, by the end of the season, there are 2 women who've been involved in the investigation of the case who actually solve it. And because this is real, there's often nothing you can do about it. You may just sort of go along with the mystery for a bit, unravel a little bit more, and then not actually find out what happened. Whereas this one is different. You do get closure. You do find out what happened. I love the podcast sheds light on the determined women whose efforts, often unpaid and for a long time unnoticed, were key to identifying those bodies. It's got serious This American Life vibes in the style of the storytelling. It's 8 episodes, 30 to 40 minutes each. So to my reckoning, that's manageable. I think if you're looking for your next great listen after enjoying something like Serial, I can tell you quite certainly that this is it. We thought that it was possibly the best murder investigation themed podcast that we've listened to for the Good Pod Guide. The storytelling is well executed and it's a bit harrowing and it just completely reels you in. In the next episode, I talk about the time Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl had to go to the hospital after overdosing on coffee. I also review comedy podcast Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. For more info, check out the show notes. And if you've enjoyed what you've heard, do us a solid and subscribe, and leave a positive review.